Like, go.
It's time.
Oh, welcome to the Wedding Crashers Podcast.
I don't like it.
I think you have a feature in auction room.
It is. It is.
Are you ready?
What was that? No, a town crier.
All's well.
No, that's
The
like
war
that's like
in Europe is over.
Hear ye, hear ye.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
All right, here we go. Here we go. All right. Good enough.
Foul.
My favorite.
Wait, do the fake Michael Jackson one. He just like screams. That's what the buffalo sounds like.
I'm not sure. Hold on. She's like, this is real fucking professional, guys. Welcome to the Wedding Crashers Podcast.
Beat the lyrics.
All right, awesome. So we're coming to you live from a subterranean lair. This time it's true. We are actually subterranean.
Yes.
And it was false
It's
because
fantastic.
we're not live.
Right. We're not live. Live.
We're coming live from my basement.
You know what's funny? Every time I watch Saturday
So
Night Live,
misleading.
Saturday Night Live, I never watch it live. But every time they say live from New
I
York
don't
Saturday
think I
night.
watch any show live anymore. To
Right.
be honest.
Hey.
I don't even watch the news live, guys. No, I'm
I mean,
kidding.
the
Right.
Eagles Super Bowl.
I start watching the news like 3 years after it airs. I feel like that's when it's like the freshest.
Yeah.
I try not to watch the news.
Yeah, no, I never
Yeah.
do. Ever. Well, awesome. We're starting a new episode from a legitimate subterranean lair. Lair's a weird word. Like lair, dungeon. I feel like you gotta stay away from those.
I don't
basement.
think a boudoir photographer
Right.
should say lair.
Lair. Yeah, no.
Welcome.
Especially if
to
you
lair.
shoot in your lair.
Yeah.
I don't shoot
Come
in my
down
lair.
to my
That's not-
lair. I will photograph you naked.
No, that's weird. We do silhouette.
We do silhouette.
Awesome. Well, what's up? We got our hosts here. We got Teddy.
This microphone smells bad.
That's weird. That's weird that you said that. All right, we got Mikey Mike over here
Bow tie
with his
mic.
bow tie Mike.
That's right.
There's a new sheriff in town. No, they don't wear bow ties. What are those things called?
Bolo
Like
ties.
A bolo. He wears like a bolo tie.
Funny story. Ted's first time was a bolo tie.
Yeah, it was.
That's true.
And
I
it had
remember hearing
turquoise in it. It was like an eagle.
that.
An
I'm a
eagle
big
with a
fan of
turquoise
the-
heart.
Big fan of the Midwest.
Are you
I'm
John?
Tommy. I don't
John
have anything
Wayne?
funny to say. And we got our guest, Jenna Lynn Photography.
Thanks for
Right?
having me.
Did I say that right?
Yes.
Awesome. Fantastic.
D-heart, D-heart.
Actually,
D-Heart, D-Heart.
I'm
it's
not
funny.
Sure. I
The
asked my
heart?
husband and he says D-heart, D-heart, whichever.
Sweet. Dope.
I know people by
It's
their
good to be
Facebook
flexible.
names. So do you go by Jenna Lynn or just
no,
Jenna?
just my mom calls
Okay.
me Jenna Lynn.
Jenna
Okay.
Lynn, come on our podcast.
I should probably start asking people like, do you go by your Facebook name or is there a real name you go by? Like,
Jenna.
You're not going to tell her
Not-
to like, go to her room now, are you?
Not Jen.
oh, not Jen.
Not Jen.
I don't know why.
You
I'm
hear
just
that,
really,
viewers?
Right.
Not
I'm
Jen.
really particular about that, like not Jen.
Right.
All right, so what are we talking to Jenny about?
We're talking
no,
about
no,
a
no.
name.
Oh, God. That's even worse.
Jenny's
I forgot
worse.
to tell you, that's worse.
How about Jennifer?
Jenny and
She's like,
James.
I will cut you.
I'm
will.
small, but I'll kill you.
I will
One
straight
time
up
somebody
end you, bro.
asked me, so what's Jenna short for? And I said that would be Jenna.
Yeah, you nailed it right there. You
Yeah,
got
you
it.
got
You got
it.
the whole thing. Jenna.
Feel good about yourself, Hoss.
J. Enna.
Yeah. No.
I did know a Jenica, and I thought that was a really cool
Jenica?
name. Yeah.
Wait.
That's dope.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I'm just Jenna. But I would say my
I was
mom
gonna say, I
calls me
think I know
Jenna
someone
Lynn,
named that.
and then James in a wedding when he's trying to get my attention, and I can't hear anything.
Right. Makes sense.
Screams at me like
Yeah. So
I feel like I'm in trouble.
to talk about names, I go. My family calls me Tommy John. Literally nobody else calls me that except for like people who have known me since I'm real little.
That's a southern one.
Yeah. Well, it's a. I met somebody the other day. I was actually at a lingerie store.
Just like your average.
So
day.
no, we actually talked about this.
Tommy John in the lingerie
Right. No, so they sell it's a boxer brand now called Tommy John, right?
Oh,
And they're
no.
super comfortable. That's not a plug. We're not sponsored. Just saying they are super comfortable.
They
But they sold these in the laundry store where actually we rent one of the second floors out to do shoots in because it's
Right.
like an awesome spot in Maniunk. Shout out to
Maniac.
Expect Lace. But they. I was like, oh, you know, that used to be like my name. She's like, oh, I met like 3 people.
Wait, it used to be.
People come in and say like, oh, I want to get these because my son's name is Tommy John. So in the late 80s, early 90s, Tommy John was a major
thing.
Yankees baseball pitcher, I guess, sports ball pitcher. So it was like a popular name, I guess. I don't know. Stupid. It's dumb now.
I like it.
But I'll go
What's
by
your
anything
middle
now.
name?
Is that mine?
Yeah.
George.
What's your middle name?
Ryan.
Wait, I didn't finish. It's Theodore George Felsberg IV.
Yikes.
You did finish. She asked you what's your middle name.
Let's be real. It's Baby Buffalo.
It's kind of like redneck royalty.
Redneck royalty. Maybe.
All right.
You look like a
My
Ryan.
mother, my
I
sister.
can see that.
What?
What'd you say, brother cousin?
Wait, what's your middle name? Ryan?
Ryan.
And Jenna Lynn, what's your middle name?
Ryan.
It stops there.
Yikes.
I know people with like 4 or 5 names.
Yeah.
Well, that's like. Never mind.
Why are we talking about names, guys? We're supposed to talk about
Wait,
weddings.
That's like a Catholic thing, isn't it? When they like get baptized, not baptized, confirm, they add a middle name.
Yes, the
sometimes,
saint's
yeah.
name typically.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
Mhm. It's a Catholic
I
thing.
know some.
Thinking about that comedy special we listened to. All those jokes now. There are jokes I won't tell on this show. Ted.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Everybody.
And
I
we
do
won.
have my limits.
That one about the heckler, definitely can't tell that.
Yeah, no, that's not a good one.
No.
Okay.
So how's that go?
Well.
Well, since you asked.
No,
Nope.
I
Don't want to
think
do that.
that seems
Fooled
like
me
it's on the
again.
blacklist.
Can't touch that.
So,
Can't touch this. Can't touch
There's more,
this.
Ted.
All right, that's enough of that.
What you guys
Ted
wanna
has
talk
a
about?
specific dance. Let's talk about weddings. So
Weddings.
Jenna's a wedding photographer.
No,
in
I've
the
never been to a wedding.
Never once. No,
I've
wow.
been to a wedding.
Well, welcome to our podcast.
Once.
Jenna's here to learn about weddings.
Oh.
Wedding photographer in our area. Our area being New Jersey, Pennsylvania, tri-state area, right?
Yeah, Delaware. I've been to
Delaware?
Been to Baltimore.
Baltimore's
once,
fantastic.
yeah.
Maryland, yeah.
Mhm.
Maryland doesn't get a lot of love. We say like the tri-state area,
Right.
Maryland and Delaware.
yeah,
Right.
the crab state.
Like tri-state would be in North Jersey would be like New York, New Jersey,
and that-
Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
that's
right
funny
down here
because
is-
I think it's like the 5 Maryland counties surrounding Washington, D.C. are some of the wealthiest per capita in the country. Why are we not doing weddings
You
there?
just made that up.
Yeah,
too.
why are we just
Look it up. Actually, it's true.
statistically speaking?
Look it up.
look it up.
Look it up.
There's no one there.
Everybody. We got a new intern.
Alexa's
We should
my
get an
intern.
Alexa down here and have her be part of the show.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of like gender neutral names.
We got to get the Alexa
like-
from
like-
SNL.
like Jamie,
Alex.
like Jamie, Alex, Andy.
Ryan actually can be both.
Ryan could be.
Right?
Yeah. I knew female Ryan.
Shannon.
Shannon. I knew a male
Actually.
Shannon actually, and I knew
I
a
know about Tracy.
a man named Kimberly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tracy.
Ashley, Angel.
Ashley's a big one. Angel. I worked with an
Angel.
Angel. Yeah.
Not Jenna Lynn.
Not Jenna Lynn though. Not Jenna.
Mm-mm.
No. I think you're right. Are you looking it up?
All right, so it's Loudoun, Loudoun County, Fairfax
couldn't find
County,
it.
Howard County,
You
Huntington
challenged his
County,
Google
Arlington
ability,
County.
so
That's surrounded. It's because of
Statistically.
that's well, yeah, that would be a statistic. Right?
that is in fact.
What's
a
the statistic?
proved
And it was a statistic.
It's a
Statistic.
statistical.
Shut up.
So, Jenna, you. All
There's a
right.
Freudian slip,
That's all
guys.
right. I
I'm
did.
remembering.
Rein it in, guys.
We love those. Those are we
Yeah,
capitalize on
What,
those.
testicles or Freudian slips? There we
Yeah.
are.
What did he say about the? How did he say flagpole?
Pagful.
Pagful.
I said
Yeah.
flagpole and I said pagful because I was trying to get a joke out quickly.
God, I
Didn't
do
work
that
out.
all
Great.
the
That's
time.
They wouldn't let it go. They wouldn't let it go.
That's great.
Wouldn't let it go.
All right.
That's gonna be on my fucking tombstone. Pagful. Jesus.
Well, all right. What do we want to talk about?
Oh yeah, so we're talking about weddings and stuff, right? It's a wedding show.
Yeah.
You photograph weddings, right?
I do. I love it.
How did you get started into that? Was it always something you like dreamed of doing when you were little? Like I want to shoot weddings, or how did you get to that point?
Everyone's story is so different, right? No, I always wanted to be a designer, interior designer, architect.
Okay.
And I did get my bachelor's degree in interior design and architecture, and I worked in the field for about 7 years.
That's
Whoa.
awesome.
Yeah, so
Sweet.
that's always a passion of mine, but photography definitely trumps that in the passion department
Nice.
for sure. When my husband's sister was getting married, she was getting married in the Bahamas, and I didn't want to go there without having a good camera, so I think we still used I don't even know, the small digital ones.
Like an Olympus.
Yeah.
Point and shoot.
No
Yeah,
offense to
point and
Olympus
shoot.
people, but I feel like that was everybody's first little point and shoot
It
camera.
might
Wasn't
have.
Or like
Olympus.
the Nikon
Or like
ones
a-
back in the
I think
day.
Yeah,
it
yeah.
was like a little
Yeah.
baby Nikon.
Yeah.
It's
It was
a
like the
baby.
Nikon. Who does Cool Pics?
Yeah, that was nice.
Yeah,
Nikon. Nikon
Yeah.
Cool Pics. Yeah.
So
that's
I
dope.
knew that wasn't gonna do it, I knew I was already thinking environmentally. I'm like, well, the sun's gonna be a lot stronger, and so we scrapped up all of our money, which was like $1,000, and we got a Canon Rebel
Mhm.
T3i.
Yeah.
And like the kit lens, and I had so much fun with it. And she didn't have a wedding photographer, so
Nice.
we were in the hotel room like the morning of her wedding, which was super laid back, but for her I wanted to like document it. And then we got married a year later, and I just really connected with my wedding photographer, and I saw that she had so much passion and energy with her job, and that she had 2 young boys, which a family was always my goal.
Yeah.
So I thought, okay, well, this is awesome. Everyone's happy. Every time I see a photographer, like, they're happy and they love their job and their clients are happy. And I loved doing interior design and making my clients happy with like the reveal of their home and everything. But I didn't like working under the umbrella of a corporation.
Right.
So that never really sat well with me. So I stuck it out. I did the office cubicle life for like 5 more years. And literally I could probably get in trouble for this, I'm sure. Well, not anymore. I work for myself.
Right.
But I used to like sit there and like write like my plan, like my business plan, as I was like designing like offices and zoning out.
Right.
I was writing like scribbling, almost like you have a crush, right? And
Right,
you're
right.
scribbling on your notebook in high school,
That's awesome.
elementary school.
Who did that?
Totally not high school.
I'd be like
weird.
Jenna
And
Lynn
definitely not
Photography.
now.
Yeah,
Didn't
no,
you meet your husband in high school?
No, I
Oh.
didn't. No.
Mrs.
That
Brad
would have been
Pitt.
great for the joke.
Yeah. So I would be like, write Jenna Lynn Photography. No, I don't like that logo. Like,
Mm-hmm.
scrape it out, do another one. You know, what do you know back then? It's more than a logo, but
Right.
But do you
Um,
think that's the most important part?
right,
The
the
name.
logo.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Logo.
yeah, for sure. And it is. It's like the face of your company, but there's so much more.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, fast forward. So I loved that for years, just daydreaming and building up an idea. And my family and husband probably thought I lost my mind. It's like, I'm going to quit my job and do this and that. But I was realistic about it. So I definitely did online classes and read a lot. And then I met James, who really became like my mentor. And he took me under his wing. And I was a bridesmaid in a wedding that he was shooting.
Okay.
Nice. So
So-
James, for our listeners,
Yeah,
is
shout out
James,
to our good buddy.
Yeah,
James
my
Webb,
buddy.
James Webb Photo, James Webb Photography,
Photography. Mhm.
James Webb Imagery. I feel like he's an imagery guy.
Wait,
J.
that's his
Webb.
Facebook name.
J. Webb
Does he have
Imagery.
a different name?
James Webb Photography.
Right, that's his full name, James Webb Photography.
Jimmy Boy, right? In the group.
J. Webb,
Yeah.
if you
He
for
has-
short.
He has dainty shoulders.
Right, he does.
That
So
was-
no,
it was
James
his
is James is
post about
awesome,
the
but
strap.
Yeah, that's-
he did a post in our group recently about different kinds of camera straps
Actually,
and stuff like
I
that.
found out it wasn't even recently. It
And
was
said
like
he
a
had
year or
dainty
two
Yeah,
ago,
someone
and someone
commented
brought
on
it
it.
back,
Yeah.
like commenting on it, which
I
is
saw
so
that,
funny.
Yeah.
That's
I was
crazy.
actually like, why are you selling
Yeah.
a strap? You just got it.
You know, it's
Yeah.
funny.
And another
Somebody,
color in
somebody
to
brought
match
that
your
up
other shoes.
recently. This one photographer had a sponsored ad, and Gianna, my wife and business partner, had said like, "Holy shit, this has like 4,000 likes and like all this kind of stuff on it." And she realized that it was this. She's like, "I've seen this before. It was the same ads, same post, sponsored over and over again as a continuous ad." And it was just continuously getting likes. So every time they sponsored it, more people would see it. It would get more likes. I'm like, that's fucking brilliant.
Yeah, that's a
oh
good
my
idea.
god, I never would have thought of that.
Shoes just keep popping up
Adorama
everywhere.
Every day I get ads for this one pair of shoes, and I want them so bad, but
Yeah,
I'm not
Ted.
going to spend $300.
Probably
Just
because
buy
you're,
them,
you're
Ted.
looking at
They're-
those shoes
they're
every
so
day.
gorgeous.
You
I stare at
don't
them and I'm
want
like, nah.
shoe
Disabled
regret.
cookies.
Yeah.
So that thing that you were just talking about, I don't know why I thought of it because I'm staring at the Sony. Adorama does that. With
Yeah.
it's like they're like, Sony just released the A7 III, and you're like,
No,
that came
no,
out a
it's the
year ago, man.
Yeah.
A6355.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and they let it roll.
Why do we have
Yeah.
this old model camera?
I'll talk bad about that.
So Jenna was daydreaming about being a photographer at her old job.
And she met
Yeah.
James. So that's usually
Yeah.
I'm starting to see that trend is like you finally one
You meet
person,
James and you
right?
become
You meet James and then
Nope.
you become successful and then
Now we
you
gotta
play
run
it fast
him
and
out
loose.
to people.
Right. So no, that you talked about your wedding photographer though and getting along really well. Are you still in contact with that person and like
My
work
wedding
with them?
photographer?
Yeah.
Well, actually, I think she went to more like fine art, like portraiture.
Oh, cool.
You know, like
Cool,
more
cool.
artistic stuff.
Who was it?
It was Essence Photography,
Oh, sweet.
but then she rebranded to just her name, Bree Morse.
Cool.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay. Oh,
and-
Bree? No, I'm just kidding.
What?
I don't know. You know what's
She's
funny?
our
We're
next
videographers.
guest.
We probably do know her.
But I don't.
I know
Probably.
more photographers than I do videographers.
I invited her to Speakeasy years ago, but
She declined. She's like, I'm way too cool for that bullshit.
she was always so supportive. She did my boudoir session years ago.
Nice.
So,
Boudoirs, what's up?
yeah, and I fell
I'm
in
a
love
fan.
with that too. So,
That's awesome.
yeah. Yeah, so I was a bridesmaid, and I mean, we tell the story differently. He says I like stalked him out and everything, but
Of course
I
he
didn't.
does.
I was being super
That
friendly.
sounds about right.
I walked up to him and I was like, just to let you know, like,
He wishes.
aw, just to let you know, like, I'm not staring at you all day, but I really love photography and I just want to like watch what you're doing.
And your vest is dope.
And your vest is
I'm just like, I want to know how you do the vest.
That story though, that's similar to yours, right? When you were
Yeah,
working in the
actually.
CAD field, didn't you used to do that? Like bang out your work in
Actually,
a half hour?
yeah. How do you remember that? It's so funny.
You tell the
So,
story
You did
every
CAD?
day.
Literally
Yeah.
every day.
AutoCAD?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was
Like,
my life for.
Basically, there was
10 years.
downtime between like when you
Nerds.
finished one job and the boss would bring in another one, and so
Yeah.
like I started photography on the internet. I read everything,
I
and
think
if
you
you've
just have
done
to
it,
read.
You know what this is?
read.
This is actually called time theft. You guys are stealing time from your jobs. You owe them a whole bunch of money.
How dare you?
How dare you?
Support the dream, okay?
All right, I'm into it. I'm I'm back in. I'm back in.
Thank
But, like,
you.
And we're back.
I was gonna kick you out of your own lair.
Hadouken!
Yep.
So what's interesting is if you ever like try to study and learn stuff about photography on the internet, you realize pretty quickly that there is so much junk about like stuff that you're not really looking for. You have to really, really dig so
know.
deep to get what you want. Like I remember when I was trying to learn off-camera flash,
Yeah.
and so many people put all their opinions on the internet. There's just so much fluff and junk in there. It took me forever to find like actual answers to things.
That was me.
But that's how I started photography. Was sitting at my desk in the breaks between when my boss was bringing me more work,
Right.
and just studying a bunch of stuff. But yeah, that's interesting. You remember that?
Did you have like
Yeah.
an aha moment where you were like, "This is it"?
Actually, I had a really similar story to her. Like it was a
Mine
wedding
was my
photographer.
child.
We went to a friend's wedding, and the photographer we sat down with us like as a guest at dinner time, and he was
Wait, hold on.
awesome.
You were at a friend's wedding and they sat you with the photographer.
Yeah, well, he was
That's
like
not
a
your friend, bro.
No, like there was like
Totally
10,
not a friend.
10 people,
Put Ted with the fucking vendors.
and like one of the
And the
people
freaks that do believe.
was the photographer.
Not even. Ted was eating out in the lobby.
They had Domino pizza for that table.
I remember where that was. That was at the Centerton Country Club,
Okay.
and it was actually someone who's kind of well known, right? His name is Tim Hussey.
Oh,
He
the
created
best.
Pixify. Maybe we'll have him on the show sometime.
He what?
He created Pixify.
Oh, there you go.
And he
but
knows how to balance a chair on his head.
Yeah.
knows-
Oh, I know how to do that too.
right?
We should do that at the same time.
Pixify and Pixie Set. I always get those two confused.
And these are the
I didn't
two
know how to
things
do
he's
that.
known for.
What does he do?
I'll have to do that on
Pixify
camera
what?
He
sometime.
balances like a chair on his head or nose or chin.
What?
Chin.
Is he
Chin.
Is he? I feel like we see this at Epcot. Is it?
Dude, we have to do a
France
battle.
or
Me and
Italy?
him have to do a battle on the camera to see who can
What?
hold it the longest. That was a chair.
Him,
Can you do
obviously. I can't do that.
Can
Oh
you do
yeah, for hours. I went to mime school. Remember?
He does
Stop.
this often.
that? What?
Yeah,
the
I
fuck
can juggle.
are you talking about?
I can balance chairs and stuff on my chin and like.
Okay, wait.
hold
Do it
poles.
right
Mime school or like clown school?
Mime school, but there's a lot of clown elements in mime too.
Is
Can
this a
you
true story?
do this
It
right
is.
now?
I mean, your ceilings aren't tall enough.
Yeah, they are over there.
Wait, you went to mime school?
we'll come
Yeah.
back to this.
How has this never come up?
What the fuck
So
are
back
you
to
talking
photography.
We just road trip to Vermont. How did this not come up?
You guys know I'm a fascinating individual.
I didn't know
Really
that.
are.
I have a long history of life.
Is this true?
Yeah, seriously, because I don't believe you right now.
Oh my god.
There's a video of a 3-hour concert of
Guys, I don't know
a
if I
mime
can do
concert.
this
Wait, how's there a mime
anymore.
concert? You can't talk.
Music.
You don't even know
He tells stories of music.
I don't think I can do this anymore. What do you mean? There's a video.
Yeah, when I was at church younger, we did a concert. It was like 20 people doing mimes, and it was all like set to songs. The songs tell stories, and we kind of act them out. Makeup. The way
Okay,
makeup,
was this school
striped shirts.
accredited?
No,
Oh.
no. I was 12,
Was this school in
They
a
were
layer?
continuing education units, CEUs.
but it was fun. I enjoyed it a lot.
It sounds
very
fun.
artistic. In our day and age, though, mime is not art like it's supposed to be. Like in the past, it's become more like made fun of and clown-like. So I just stopped. I just kind of stopped. But
That's interesting.
yeah, I don't know how we got on this.
I know,
Hussey.
we're from AutoCAD to balancing chairs
Yeah.
on your head.
Tim Hussey
Wow.
shot this wedding. He was
AutoCAD
super
will
funny.
make you wanna do
Loved
that.
him.
That's
Hung out with him,
fucking
talked
sick.
a little bit. Then we had him shoot my wedding. Loved him. Loved the photos. We were so happy. It was just like, this is like the most boss job ever.
Yeah.
So kind of started me down that road. There's other people that influenced me too, but that was kind of the start.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just
That's
hung
cool.
up on the
Yeah.
mime thing, to be honest.
That's
I feel like-
awesome.
I feel like you have to connect to meet people.
Right,
You know what I mean?
absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm so
And-
happy that I met you guys.
Right.
and-
It's been awesome. So you said the aha moment for you is like having your kid. Can you just go a little
Aha
deeper there?
moment as far as going
Like
full time.
this is what I want to do.
Oh no,
like,
way before my baby.
Okay.
it was a
Was it
planned
sitting at
aha.
the sitting at the desk
Yeah,
drawing
it was
stuff?
hating my life in a cubicle, and I'm just a creative person. I mean, I've always wanted to make a difference in people's lives, make them happy, whether that was through design or through photos or whatever. And just my whole life, I've loved photographs. I actually used to steal. My mom had like a big ancient antique chest full of family photos, like from her parents' generation and all that. And
That's awesome.
I would, like, as a 6-year-old, like go in there and steal them. She always knew when it was a mess, it was me. And I would like put together my own photo albums.
Oh, okay.
I mean,
That's
it's
cool.
a shame that I mixed up my dad's family and my mom's family, and like, but I made a photo album.
That's awesome.
That's
And
awesome.
I
Is
just,
there a photo of you making that? Because that'd be great branding.
Wouldn't
like
it?
really great branding.
No, I always put pressure on myself with my own timeline, and I've always been like a 5-year planner, always.
Okay.
And I knew,
like that.
yeah, I knew like,
She's married, bro.
I knew I had.
So are you.
By the way, I knew I had like a couple years before we started having a family. I knew I had a couple years in my career before I wanted it to advance to the next level. If it wasn't going to happen, I was going to move on with my life. And when we decided to start having a baby, we had a little bit of trouble for a couple years. So I think I had a little bit more time to get my photo act together for sure. But when it really was time in your heart that you know you want to have a family, it's time. So we finally got pregnant, and when it was time to go back to work, I couldn't. I just couldn't. And financially, I needed to,
Right.
you know, really needed to, but I couldn't. I really wanted to be with my baby, and my husband and I, we were both like, let's just give this a shot. You know, let's do this. So
That's great.
haven't looked back. It's tough at times, of course, but
Yeah.
it's totally worth it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So good to hear.
Yeah.
That's
a
pretty
great
awesome.
So he was our motivational push, obviously.
That's
like,
good. Nothing to light a fire under your ass like a screaming baby.
Like a little human.
I have
That's
to feed
awesome.
this thing.
I love that story.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
awesome. That's awesome.
Well, you've already touched on how how James coming into your life kind of helped you like really learn a lot of stuff. He mentored you a little
Oh
bit.
my God,
Like,
I would not be.
how many other things like really helped you get to where you are?
How many other things?
Yeah, like tell us
What
a little bit
other
other
things?
things.
Just
like, you
answer
know.
the question. Sis. Just say like 3. And then no more information. Just 3.
Yes, I'm gonna go with 3.
Three.
I think it's
answer is
just
42.
a combination of having the right person come into your life at the right time. He obviously was. My husband being very supportive, and just my drive. You know, so 3.
3 exactly. 3
Totally
exactly.
3 things.
That's cool.
See,
Yeah.
I just knew what was going on.
You know, you just when you're in love and you find that person, and it's like you have to. I don't want to live my life in a cubicle, like dreading waiting for 5:30 to come. So
Super close to home.
yeah. I know. I know.
It's okay. It's
I
okay.
know.
It's okay.
What are some things that draw you to it? I know earlier you said you like making people's lives better, something like that,
Yeah,
right? Like
just-
talk
I
a little bit about like how do you do that at a wedding? Like what do you see the weddings? How do they come into that? Like where does that part come in?
How do I make their lives better?
Yeah.
You know, capture
What's
the
that noise?
hey soda.
Is that your dishwasher?
Somebody probably pooping upstairs and the water pipes are going. Why don't you calm down, man?
That sounds like
Do
a
you have indoor
dishwasher.
plumbing in your house?
Yes. Oh man, it makes me think about my plumbing. There's problems.
Okay, back to
It's
weddings.
weak. That was it. That was a
I
fake
know.
Michael Jackson.
Anyway.
How do I make people's lives better? You know, I focus on being like their friend and advocate throughout the whole engagement process, and making sure that whatever they envision for their day happens. You know, the day's so organic and fast moving that they plan for a year or more, and if some little things are important to them throughout the day and they can easily be forgotten, like I want to be the one to remind them of that, and I want to be like their honorary maid of honor or best
Right.
man, or I'm not a man.
Use the word advocate
Yeah.
for like what you want to be for clients. I feel like that's a very corporate word. It's something that like we use a lot. No, it's not a bad thing. Like that's something that you don't hear a lot of people do.
Yeah.
It's something that like if you ever gone to like culture training where they're like we want to change the culture of the corporation. That's like they're always like be an advocate, and it sticks in my head. They
Right.
probably do the same thing at Apple, right? We can't say we do the same thing at the large
At that
fruit
fruit
Fruit store. They have a. I'll have to tell you the credo
but-
sometime. It's amazing.
But it's a thing, right? It's like be an advocate for the customer, be an
Right.
advocate. It's something that some small business owners and some creatives may not have heard or may not have been exposed to. But being an advocate for somebody, right? Like, it's having their best interests at heart, making sure that like you're trying to
I'm all invested in that couple on the day.
Right.
I'm not thinking about like anybody
James.
else.
Right.
Are you
So,
thinking about James Ted? You've mentioned him a lot.
Yeah, right.
I
This
like
is
you,
weird.
James.
I'm not thinking about like, of course, I'm always thinking about like my son and my family, but I'm not.
Right.
I'm like focused on their day.
It's like
I wanna be
it's
there
like
for
treating
them.
their work. So I've been with photographers, not been with, but I've worked with photographers. Hold on, there we go. I've worked with photographers who treat like a new request from the couple on the day as like
Like
a
a personal offense.
as
to
like a
them,
burden, right? So it's
Yeah.
like a burden, and in reality, it's you should be like you're taking the request from clients, you're taking what's important to them, and trying to make it for them. It's
right.
as much as it's a service industry, it's different, right?
Right.
But making sure that we can advocate for them and say like, hey, we're trying to make your dreams happen. Make sure we can capture the things that are important to you, and like that's the most important thing on the day. Not getting to sit down, sometimes shooting for 12 hours, not getting a break to eat or pee or
my God,
or
it's
sit
rough.
down. It's insane, but like
Yeah.
my whole reason for being there is to make you happy and
Right.
capture, make an awesome product for you, right? Like
Right.
that's what being an advocate really is.
And also the advocate. What's that?
Sorry, it's a joke we do.
Furthermore.
Anytime someone says like, and also we're like, and
But also.
furthermore, and also.
Furthermore, oh man, I
And
lost
again.
it.
Fuck you, Mike.
Oh no, I got it back. It came back.
Let's go. Let's run with
So
it.
the advocate thing also, to me, means like an excited, engaged couple might like, have all of these things, and it's also our job as the professional to hone in and deliver and give them, but also be very realistic about the crunch time. And we do weddings every weekend, 3 weekend, 2 weekend. So, and they don't get married that often.
Right.
hope.
And for them, that's exactly as you said. Being an advocate, it means giving them
educating
realistic
them.
expectations and educating them. Saying like,
Yeah.
what's really important to you. Let's hone it down and let's do those
Right.
exact
Yeah.
things.
Right.
I think that was cool what you said though. Like I think that's what makes a great photographer or wedding professional, and a lot of people forget this, is the idea that like once you show up to that wedding, it's all about the couple.
All about
And
them.
like we have days like I know people like at this table and stuff, like you might miss like family parties, funerals,
yeah.
someone's sick at home, like you can't call out, like, but you still have to be able to like separate that when you
Right.
show up.
I was
and-
second shooting, and
It's bigger than you, man.
It's
It's
bigger.
bigger than you.
I was second shooting early on in my pregnancy, and I had reason to believe I was actively having a miscarriage
Wow.
on the wedding day. So emotionally, out the window.
Oh my
I was
God.
so done. I called my husband. He showed up, and I kept shooting.
Oh my
I mean,
God.
first I called the doctor, and she's
Right.
like,
Yeah.
well, you can't really do anything right now.
Right.
So I kept shooting. But honestly, the shooting was my therapy.
Yeah.
And I got through
Right.
it, and it was still all about them.
And it can be methodical, right? And going through your creative process can be absolutely therapeutic for a lot of. I mean, that's why they have art therapy. My mom was the
Yeah.
head of art therapy at Trenton Psychiatric in like the 80s when it was like crazy, like
When she
One
named
Flew
you
Over the Cuckoo's Nest stuff.
Tommy John.
Right. Like crazy stuff.
Wait, I
But,
need
like,
closure. Did you have a?
Yes,
Okay.
with Landon.
Okay.
Everything was perfectly
good.
normal.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
Ted
thank
was
you,
about
though.
to lose it.
I wanted to know. Like,
It
I need
was
to know
it
the
was a
story.
scary, scary day for sure.
Yeah.
Oh,
And I feel
absolutely.
like I did wrong by the main shooter because your mind is like, but
Right.
Yeah.
Staying there
Yeah.
and being able to
I still did it.
support that's big.
But
Yeah.
people forget that, and even people like just starting out. Like I think that's something people don't realize, that you're so attached to that couple. Like when that day is
Yeah.
on, it's
Right.
on. Like no matter what's happening back home.
We've become friends with so many of our couples. It's like, would you want to like? I'm not saying
Abandon
like
them.
dick over your friend, but like just like you're gonna hurt them.
I would
this
never
is like
want
this is
to
you
hurt them.
can't get this shit back. It's
no,
one shot.
Absolutely.
It's kind of like this podcast.
Well,
It's
thanks
not.
guys,
It's
because
not
you
at
all
all. It's
ruined
not.
it.
I don't know how that would. I guess nothing like that's happened to me directly
Well, it can't
that
happen.
bad because I don't know if I
Really?
could possibly. Wait, what? Can you think of something?
Wait, what?
Because I can't think of a moment where
Where you had to like,
my mind wasn't in the wedding. Like
right.
I can't think of that.
I don't
Oh,
have.
maybe
Yeah.
not. Maybe
I don't know
not.
if it's not. I don't know if it's
I mean,
possible. I'm
nothing
sure something
that crazy. I know twice I've shot on days where we thought my wife was going into labor, and we
Okay.
knew
My
like, but we
goodness.
both had
Right.
like a pact
You
that
gotta
like.
have like a backup plan too.
Well,
Yeah,
that was it.
yeah.
Like I'm lucky enough to have like a wife that's like no, this is important. Like
Aw.
this is it. Like this is what you
Right.
do.
Yeah.
Like you gotta go finish
Yeah.
the job.
Right.
But you still
Shout out
are
to you for being a
thinking
good
about
husband
it.
and saying like I have a good wife, not like I have a great team of second shooters that would like take over for me if I had to go. Like
Right.
anything like that.
But I wouldn't leave. Like
I know,
it's
I'm
just
joking,
one
I'm
of those
joking.
things.
Yeah.
Right.
Or you? Well, I mean that's morbid.
What?
I know one of our last weddings 2 years ago. Like your grandmother died on the way to the wedding.
On the way to the
Like,
wedding. Yeah. Yep. And I was
Oh
on
my
Long Beach
God.
Island.
and we still killed it. Like,
I was on Long Beach Island.
Bad
She
choice of
was
words.
in-
that's true.
Oh,
We killed the wedding, guys.
oh, God.
That's our lingo.
Ugh.
That was some
Right, we
low hanging
did
fruit
kill it.
right there.
We
Sorry.
did kill it.
You have to have a strong mindset. You're
Right.
serving
Yeah.
this
Right.
couple. James and I actually broke down on the way to a wedding, and
Oh, that's-
there are some like life still happens, you know. And I'm like
Yeah,
in the car freaking out.
Right.
But
We
Was this before Uber?
We have.
no, it was like 2 months ago.
It was yesterday, Ted.
But like,
So you Ubered
but like,
to
guess
AAA.
what? I got us both to our prep destinations on time, and
awesome. Nice.
our minds were back into
Well,
it.
sometimes it sucks.
It's a
So
muscle.
like a wedding day is a long day, and if you got young kids, like all of us do, like
Right.
most of us don't have kids in school yet, right? Your kids are just in school. Your oldest
Just one.
is, and yours and mine
No,
aren't.
he's not even.
But
3.
like, I want as much time with them as possible. So
Yeah.
when I have a wedding day, if I can get like a couple hours in the morning to eat breakfast with them and stuff like that, that's fine.
It's big.
But if it's the summer or it's somewhere where I'm like there may be traffic, I'll leave like 3 hours before the wedding if it's only an hour away or
Right.
whatever. I'll leave like triple time in case something like that happens.
Yeah.
And it cuts down on my family time, but it's a commitment I made. It's something you can't
Yeah.
get back, right? I had a buddy who did the same thing. He even leaving like 1.5 or 2 times the amount of time it was going to take to get there. He got stuck. A road was closed down. Dead stop traffic, right? Couldn't get there. His brother was the DJ at the wedding. And you know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And he missed the ceremony. He
Oh
couldn't
my
get to the
God.
ceremony. So his brother, who's standing in the back, films it on his iPhone.
Oh,
Turns out iPhone was a 4K. My boy doesn't even shoot in 4K. So
So
it was
it
like
worked.
it was like decent footage. Well, I'm joking, but he got some he actually got footage for them and they're like, "Yeah, we realize there's nothing you can do about it." You know, you got to kick him some money back. You got to do all that stuff. And it's like,
right.
you know, that's a big thing for me. I feel like in order to be an advocate, in order to be be a, I don't want to say like caretaker, but in order to like take on that work and be like, hey, I'm gonna take this very important day to you and like take care of
Such
it,
a
and take care of your
commitment.
footage. I feel like you can't be tied to the money, right? You
Oh
have
my
to be
God,
able to
honestly,
say like,
it's not even a.
right. It's like, well, if I
It's
do
not
this, whatever,
about money
like
for
it
me.
has to be like about the product, about the client,
Sure.
right? And then the money is a
Side effect.
awesome positive, right?
Right.
But yeah, that's what it has to be. I
Right.
think in order to be an advocate.
You have to, care for humans.
Absolutely.
Can I add something to what you're saying earlier,
Yeah.
like about how we give all to our clients, we're like head over heels into their day and making sure they have a wonderful day. I also feel like,
bro.
no, sometimes
Dope.
I feel like there's definitely some balance that I've learned over the years. I don't know if you've like come to that too, but like, I think it's more earlier. Like my wife and I have come to agreement that certain holidays, certain kids' birthdays, like we just don't book things on those days.
Yeah.
Obviously, if we booked something and we're in that for that day, like we're all in. But before that, I might turn down a job for a certain day because of an event. I promised my family, like, hey, there's a little bit of a balance here. I need to be here for my son's birthday, Christmas, Thanksgiving, stuff like that. We actually had a Thanksgiving inquiry. But yeah, so like stuff like that. Like, do you do the same sort of thing? Like, you have a set sort of days of the year you don't book things?
So I feel like last year and this year are probably my most successful years. So I feel like I just booked, like whatever I could, and of course my husband was super supportive. But I feel like I have been conscious of that, but not enough.
Okay.
And I feel like this year definitely was my learning stage for that, because now I'm thinking, maybe I shouldn't have done 3 triples in May.
Right.
I'm literally working on my wedding anniversary this
Yep.
year, which I'm happy to be with. I love this girl and the couple. I'm happy to be with them. And my husband, I did ask him first.
Yeah.
He didn't mind.
He's like,
You celebrate next
I
day.
literally blocked that shit out. No, I was kidding.
But I'm like looking at my calendar and I'm like, okay, so when can we go out to dinner? I'm like, oh, actually every single weekend day in May I'm booked. So I feel like this year, to answer your question, was my lesson year.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know what happens? Like a year ago, when you're booking all this stuff, it looks so good on paper.
You're like, oh,
And
it's
then
gonna
when
be
you
sweet.
get to
and
that
then you
month,
meet your
you're like,
CPA.
Yeah.
whoa.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah.
It can be crazy. We've had stuff where we started looking at it like, okay, we're not going to do back-to-back weekends of shoots every, like, Saturday and Sunday for a month straight.
It's so
like,
hard to say something like no to something you love.
Right.
You know what I mean?
It's like at least one weekend in a month needs to be free. It's kind of like what
True.
our family expectation is. And
Yeah.
well, and we break the rule all the time. If it's like, all right, we'll just do this, or it happens.
Like
If it's
boundaries.
but to your question, like we have holidays and birthdays that we won't book on. I mean, it's just like my son's birthdays, I won't book on my kids'
I
birthdays.
won't work on Landon's
Because that's not one that's going to surprise you. It's not like that creeps up on you.
Yeah.
There may be like families' birthday parties. If my cousins say like, "Oh, my birthday party's this day," I'm like, "Well, shit." I've
like
missed all of those the last couple of years because I have weddings. I'm like,
Yeah.
I can't stop shooting in June and July because you decided to have your kid's birthday party. It's like, and I know that's when their birthday is, but
I feel like a terrible friend sometimes.
Yeah.
I feel like a terrible
You
family
are.
member.
You are.
We'll reinforce that. You are.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
If like my close knit of friends is like, hey, next Saturday everybody else can get together, and I'm like, I'm sorry.
Sorry,
I
I'm
feel like
being
I've
a-
missed out on like a lot of people's lives.
I'm being
but
boss.
it's totally, I don't want to say totally because of course I love them and I miss that time socially with my friends or family.
Right.
But it is justified to me in my heart and my mind
Because you get to
like,
spend it with James.
Good.
Just kidding.
because I love what I do.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I think
Absolutely.
I
I think
love
that's
it.
also like an entrepreneur thing though. Like it's different. It's not work
I'm
to us,
happy.
and it's really hard to say no to
Right.
work. Like
Yeah.
like I don't mean for me, I just don't book kids' birthday parties. Like we don't
Right.
really
No.
celebrate birthdays on birthdays.
Right.
Like
Right.
but that's just the way it is. But everyone is on board with that. That's the other
Yeah.
thing. Like it
We
has
never
to
did
be.
that either growing up.
Yeah,
Like,
like,
you didn't
I think I had 2
celebrate
birthday
on
parties
it.
my whole life. We
Yeah,
throw
same.
birthday parties
Same.
now,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and I won't work those.
It's dope.
But
It was dope.
like anniversaries or my
was a-
birthday, like,
there was a
get
princess
the
at
hell
the
outta
last
here.
one.
I'm working
Well,
on my
it's funny
birthday.
I'll
too.
work on my
The
birthday.
parties probably are planned
I'm a
maybe
worker
2 months
by
before,
nature.
right?
The parties are planned around my schedule.
Oh yeah, because
actually.
we booked the wedding a year and a half before,
Right.
but
Yeah.
then like the party might be a month or two.
I
before.
know to leave like a
Yeah.
weekend open in their
Yeah,
birthday
yeah.
months.
It is
Like
something
my
you have to
wife-
start getting used to, right? Being able to do that, like planning out a year in advance.
We do that because it's
the
either
thing
a
is,
Saturday
like-
or Sunday for the party. So one of those days we can book a wedding. But
For me, it's like you could be there present for all these crazy family parties, or you can take your family. Like I'm not going to say that live. What I was about to say. Or you can go on like we do this big.
I know what you're gonna say.
We do this big epic vacation at the end of the year where we
Yeah.
go away for like 2 weeks, and then
Yeah.
like
Oh, that's
I'd rather do
nice.
that than be
Right.
at every barbecue
Right.
and stuff like
Right.
that.
So this year, also to answer your question about my lesson year of like making time for your own life, this year I looked at my calendar and I'm like, what days I'm working for the other company I work for, and then the people I second shoot for, and then myself. And I'm like, oh wow, I have nothing in July.
That's
Like
awesome.
absolutely nothing. So I made it a thing in my head to say I'm not available to any incoming inquiries for July. It was so hard to
It's
do
hard.
because
It
like
is.
the dream venues started coming in.
That's what
Oh.
always
And, like,
happens.
the worst.
And I almost
I was
knocked
like,
it over.
ugh.
And like like the big budgets, although like you said, it's not really about that. Just like all the exciting things that you've been waiting for, they happen to fall on that time that you blocked out for yourself,
Yeah.
your sanity, your
Right.
family. But I did it. So this year I'm
Good, that's awesome.
unavailable in July.
You can mention who else you work for too.
Okay, Twisted Dicks.
Yeah, nice.
There's
Say it
a-
louder.
I can't remember who it is, but a person that when I was first starting, I thought this was so crazy, and they told me I take the J's off, and I was like, "What does that mean?" They're like, "I take July and January off every year
Oh,
that's
good.
nice.
and go away."
What about June?
I know. I always think about that. June doesn't count. But
Right.
now, like the longer you're in it, I'm like, that's actually
October,
genius. Like to have one
November,
summer month
Jovember.
and one winter month.
I think I'm gonna fall in love with it
Dude,
and
I
have
want
to do
all
that
of the
every
months
year.
off.
All the months.
All
Take
the months that
all
end
the
with
months.
Y.
I just don't.
Oh, good for you.
I didn't hear that.
I heard that.
Oh, I heard that. It was
That
fun.
was loud.
I don't
That was
want.
the
headphones
Christian
were
Bale
kinda-
thing.
I don't
right?
want to
Yeah.
start
What?
missing
Yeah.
out on stages in Landon's life.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
So it basically the moral of the story is it's all balance,
yeah.
of course.
Dude, isn't that the worst? Like, I look at my kid. He's about to turn 5, and I'm like, oh God, so fast. And then we had a discussion the other day. I'm getting personal here.
I
About
don't
like,
know. I think it's 365 days now.
no, it just feels like it's going so fast. It's crazy. I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
he's going to school this year.
Do you have kids?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's got 3.
He started first.
Transition.
Wow.
They had to catch up to each other really
I
fast.
keep talking
It was
about
like
having a
every
vasectomy,
year
but I'm
there.
waiting for Mike to do his first, so I can be like, I win. One more kid.
I'm the only one
Might
with
do that.
one. and
I
I'm
would have a
still
tribe of
exhausted.
kids if it was
I
up
would
to
like
me.
another one, but
Let's get ready to rumble.
You got the whole time All right, I want a clean match.
No punching below the belt.
So, what are some of your next steps? What are some things you're working on?
Stopping drinking. No more blow. It's the life of a wedding photographer, people.
These
DJ.
are-
He added
these
a
are-
North Jersey accent to you.
Fuck models. I'm just kidding. We met some.
These are your goals,
met
right?
some- no, they're not at all. Nope, way past that.
Just to clarify.
Way past that.
I honestly I want to take 2019 and invest. Every year I try to invest in workshops and continued education, but this year I really want to focus on investing in education for boudoir because
Okay.
I fell in love with it and I want to include it. I still want to do weddings, but I think it's like a whole new venture I could take with my brides or other women, anybody,
Yeah.
Absolutely. And
That's
as a
awesome.
wedding photographer, it's like I remember talking to somebody and them saying like, yeah, I feel like I kind of like ran out of clients. I'm like, every bride is your potential client, right?
Yeah.
Like you already
You're
have
already connected with them.
right, like you already have a stream of clients like right there ready to go. And like as a boudoir photographer, I do wedding videos, but as a boudoir photographer, I was like, man, I feel like I'm missing out by not doing wedding photo. I'm missing out like this whole population. And I get a lot of brides. I get bridal referrals from other photographers. I get all that stuff, but like I felt like I was missing out by not being a wedding photographer to do bridal boudoir because that's just like every bride is a potential boudoir client.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Yeah,
It's a place to be.
It's like when you're working, when you're
was excited
working
about
and
it.
something like super excites you artistically, and
Right.
you just want to like explore it more.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm there with boudoir. I would love to do that more.
That's awesome.
I think that happens though, right? Like when we were all started in weddings, we were so excited about weddings.
Yeah.
And then it's not that you're not excited, but it kind of like gets not dull, but you know what I mean? Like it becomes your everyday life.
I haven't hit that yet. Like I'm
well,
like,
I wasn't done my story.
oh, okay.
I wasn't going to say
Okay.
it's
Well,
But then
mine's not dull.
you see something like it might even just be like a new shot and it like
Right.
revives it
Yeah,
for
it
you.
does.
Or like you see boudoir and you're like, oh, this is a new thing. Like
Right.
it brings it all back. I think that's really
Yeah.
cool.
Absolutely.
New locations certainly do that
Yeah.
too. I'm actually flying out to Vegas to do it.
Yeah.
Ooh, that's fun.
So a couple new ventures coming out.
Nice.
Yeah. So
That's
the
really
New
things
lenses do that
yeah.
all
Yeah.
the time.
So things like that totally revive that fire.
I didn't mean to cut you off. I didn't want people to think I was like, my wedding career is dull and boring.
Are you farting or is that your phone?
get it,
by
bro.
the
That
way?
was
were
someone's
just-
phone.
you were just mansplaining. We get it.
I'm not talking for the rest of the show.
Oh,
Yeah.
you know what I always wondered? Let me interview you guys. Ready?
Let's do it.
Okay.
Yeah. So I always wondered, like, when you're editing, do you hear photographers say dumb shit? Like our inner dialogue.
I can't speak for the way you edit. Or you. I mean, you don't edit that many videos,
A
right?
little bit, couple.
Every time I go to pull a clip, I mute it as I'm pulling the clip down to edit it.
Yeah, I don't listen to any of the audio from the day unless it's the stuff I want.
Right.
That's
I
good.
So like I'll
I
pull a
listen
Probably
clip.
just too much noise, right?
Right. Well, because you have a music track, and then you're dropping clips on it, and you don't want like the sound like it's like prep clips where it's like a group of like cackling men or women. I'll use cackling as a term for men and women, where they're like "Bah, bah, 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 bah," and like it over the music where you're trying to create this mood for the shot, and you're like, oh God, be quiet.
So
But-
that happened to me. Once.
That's
The
a
DJ
shout out to the spinners.
It was one of the longer edits where you have to use the audio they had there to like record. Like, actually, I think it might have been a speech even. But basically,
Where's that wet noise?
Found Jenna's button.
There it is. What
Oh,
is
it's
it?
like
It's the
nails
pipes,
on a
guys. It's the pipes.
the
again.
pipes.
My
It's not
mic
the
is
pipes.
always
They muted like you know how the DJ has their own microphone and they
Yes.
hand the other one to the people giving the speech.
Oh yeah, we talked
Yeah.
about this last episode.
They muted their microphone and set it on their table, left the other one loud. My recorder still got both of them though, which wasn't good because I really needed just the speaker's audio, but instead I got the speaker's audio and the DJ's talking.
Ugh,
And like
how do you edit
They-
that?
Ted's just sitting there and he's
you
like,
can't.
No!
I just
I,
couldn't use certain spots.
No!
Yes,
God, please,
that's
no!
it.
No!
It was I was
No!
listening to it going, dear God, no, because he can't undo it.
I
you can't get rid of
I
that.
don't envy videographers in that sense at
oh
all.
no, audio. So I shot wedding photos with Ted the one day, and I was like,
This is great.
God, this is amazing. I don't know about audio. I can walk into a room and basically start shooting. I don't have to be like, put this camera here and start that one. Put this camera here and start that one.
Turn the lights
Run
on.
over here and put the audio on. Put the audio on this person and start that one. Anyway.
Where are they coming in the addresses? Where's the microphone
Right,
go?
like just adapt
You
and
guys
move. It's
edit
crazy.
so fast too. Like the wedding that we did in December together.
Yeah.
I think you got. I don't know if it's preview or the whole thing,
It's
but
this
like,
guy.
I was like, damn.
It's the
that was
magic
like
man
a
with the bow
month.
tie.
I still have 2
Oh,
weeks.
good for you.
No, Mike's got it
You guys
insanely
do a
fast.
great job.
He's got his process down though. And
Yeah.
You know what?
Good.
I think I'm just gonna say from an outsider looking in, you did a lot of editing for other people, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Did you think doing like 200 edits in a year helped you streamline your process a little bit? Maybe.
Yep, and it helps
Maybe
you.
just-
That'll do it.
I might do
And
it.
how to shoot, because you see this stuff people don't shoot and realize like,
shit.
oh, I need this. Like,
Oh my
to,
god.
yeah, for
You know
sure.
what? Nothing helped me more than when I did start editing a few weddings where I was like, oh my god, this is like, it just changes your whole view of like seeing the final product. Because for the first like 2 years we shot, at least, I didn't edit anything. And I still don't edit much of the flagship stuff, but I do edit weddings. But seeing that, oh my god, it's a game changer.
Roadhouse.
You know what's more important?
Peanut butter jelly time. Where you at? Where you at?
Well,
Where you at?
oh my god. Ted.
That does it best. Look at him.
Peanut butter jelly.
I just made that up.
Peanut butter jelly. Peanut butter.
If we're talking about editing, that's
Ain't
actually
nobody
a good
got
thing.
time. Ain't nobody got time for that.
Oh, she's my favorite.
It's fantastic.
I like turtles.
I got bronchitis.
Ain't nobody got time.
If we're talking about editing, let's talk about that. What's like your workflow when you get done with a wedding? Because that's
What a
something that can help a
mess.
lot of people.
My work
Or
flow
not, never mind.
is like edit, run out, check on Landon, make sure he's then go back, edit. Yeah, run out, check on Landon. So workflow. I do a same day edit if my client books 8 or more hours.
What?
So I do a slideshow.
Like
I
just
used to
a
do
quick
that.
Can you
preview.
explain that?
I used to do that.
Yeah. So I can't take credit for that idea.
No.
It's
But
been
can you
around.
explain how you do it?
Laptop. Pop the card in.
What are-
Photo mechanic. Select a couple that I want to feature from earlier in the day.
Okay, so photo mechanic. There
Yeah,
you go. I've
and
been trying to figure out about that. I know I'm cutting you off. I'm sorry.
No, it's fine.
A lot of people may not know what that is though. But photo mechanic is something I've been looking into because it seems like it's significantly faster. But can you explain what it does?
It has a lot of avenues to use it for. I seriously just use it for calling.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's what a lot of people do. So it basically pulls the photos from the card without actually
It's
pulling
faster.
the files over.
I don't think it pulls all the data. So it's a
Right.
lot
So
faster.
it's just like previews of all the images so you can cull
Right,
faster.
right.
And then it only brings over the images that you want to edit, right?
You can flag them
Yeah, so
to
you can
certain
flag
categories.
Right. Cool.
So I'll
That's
flag
awesome.
them. I just pick, like 5 is, I don't know why, because like my finger's like right there on the keyboard. So I select.
That's what I use for calling.
Yeah.
5.
So I'll select like 20 to 30 pictures.
Yeah.
Quickly edit as people are eating
Mm.
because, really nothing's going on.
Yeah, dinner hour.
Yeah. And
Everybody's just
if,
sitting around like,
stop at the wet. if something is going on, that's where James, our second shooter,
right.
obviously is a huge backup.
Absolutely.
That's smart.
So we just edit them really quick and then airdrop them to an iPad.
Right. And use Lightroom.
Lightroom
Right,
for
okay, cool,
editing.
cool.
Yeah.
I've heard of
And
people using Capture One, right? That's the other.
I think that's big
big
more in
one.
corporate, or not corporate, like product
That's-
photography.
That's Capture One is
because you can
isn't that
tether.
I'm thinking I'm thinking of Phase One.
No, that's the.
That's
Oh,
a-
Capture NX1 is the Nikon software, right?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
not the same thing.
No,
not
it's
the
another editing. I know.
I'm glad I brought this up because we're just fucking confused everybody.
I've seen it on
Ignore
a lot.
that.
I've seen
Capture
it.
One is like another Lightroom.
Yeah, I've seen
That's
it in a lot of
supposedly-
creative lives where they're
Right.
like tethering. too.
Right.
So like they're shooting
oh
and
yes,
editing right
I've
away.
seen Bo do that
Yeah,
before.
yeah.
Yeah.
Is that the Hasselblad software?
No man.
No, why
Just
do you
let it
keep
go,
doing
dude.
this?
I think it is.
Is it the Olympus song?
I forget.
Who makes that? Apple?
Maybe it's the Fujifilm software.
So I used to do same day edits, but
Yeah.
I did it partially for marketing. One of the guys that first
I forget
influenced
my
me a
business
lot.
cards every wedding like an idiot.
Oh.
Yeah. I don't have business. Ted
This
gave me
actually,
business cards, I still
this
have
actually is. I never brought this up, but this is kind of an important part of my journey. There's a guy named Luis Torres who did a podcast from like 2009 and on, and basically it was really just an inspirational podcast for photographers to get into weddings, and just really pushing people to go for it, stop becoming doubtful and things like that. I'm gonna wait for him to play the sound effect.
No, he's not gonna do it.
I'm not doing anything to you, man. Calm down.
but
She's so touchy.
He said what he did was he brought a TV to every wedding with a little
Wow.
computer,
That's commitment.
did a same day edit, 20 photos, whatever,
Yeah.
same thing, but put them on the TV and then laid business cards out there. So he would bring he'd have the venue called up ahead of time to make sure they had a table for him and stuff, or he'd bring his own, and he'd set this TV up in the corner somewhere and just had a slideshow going, and he said people would come over and flock to that, and it was a big draw. I did it for the first several years, and it was great. I ended up stopped doing it because I used to bring, it wasn't TV, it was my computer, and I just got so tired of unplugging everything on my computer. It was a big iMac, and but anyway, it was really cool, and I just didn't get as much feedback as far as business goes from it. It was more just a fun thing.
I was just about to ask about that. I was going to say people looking for like marketing ideas. Did it work or
not really?
I
No.
never really get.
Well,
business
I'm
from
glad we
it.
wasted our fucking time on that.
But, it was a good
Okay,
learn
wait.
for me. That's why I stopped doing it.
there's 2 minutes left.
All right.
So.
No, as far
No,
as
meaning
as far
like
as
the
same day edits go,
second.
that's pretty cool. So for culling, you use culling for those who are not photographers who listen to the show. That is going through your pictures and selecting the
Going
images.
through 5,000
Right.
plus images.
So there's times where we take thousands of images and we'll cull that down to hundreds, right?
Yep.
And then from those hundreds, we'll select maybe a few less. It's narrowing down your choices of what you're going to edit and what you're going to give to the client as the final product. Because we obviously don't provide all of the photos. 'Cause some of them are out of focus, some of them are whatever.
We should talk about that because clients definitely don't understand that concept a lot, and they're
Right.
always like, "I want all the photos," and I'm like,
What's-
"There's 10 of the same photo because I
Right.
held the finger down on it. It's just
Right.
like the exact same
Right.
photo."
What's good is we
Yeah.
are talking
This
about
is
it.
why
Yeah.
the advocate thing, the education thing, like
Yeah,
you
it is
know,
important,
They don't
yeah.
know what they're asking.
No.
You know, I was that bride. I asked, you know, like when I got married, Instagram, Pinterest, none of that
Right.
was evolved.
It
yet.
was the
Grandma?
1880s.
No.
So I literally
like,
had
you
a
guys.
binder like that my mom bought me from a store that was like your wedding planner, and it was like boom, this heavy binder.
Yeah.
And in the photography section, which I wasn't a photographer back then,
Right.
it had all these things, recommendations that you can ask your photographer. So
Right.
I'm like, do I have the rights to my images? And I'm like, I don't even know what that means.
Right.
I literally just want to like print a picture.
I was super
So,
tied to that with ours. I was like, I
educating them.
want the rights to my images. I actually remember one of our first weddings where the photographer was not providing the rights to images to the client. We were like, yo, what's your problem, man? Like, it wasn't like that at all. It was, we were like we were working together as like a team, but we were like, why would you do that? And I didn't really have a grasp on what it meant because we were focusing on video. But were you a photographer when you got married?
No.
I wasn't in it. You weren't in it, right? Like none. I feel like that's common. Like nobody
Yeah.
was in the industry when they got married.
Yeah.
I wish I was. 'Cause
I know. I
would
would
know
have
so
done like,
much more.
Yeah, I would have done a lot differently. I think a hands first look wasn't a thing back then either, but I think I
Right.
definitely would have done
Yeah.
a first look.
Same.
In my wedding
Especially since
video,
it was
like,
July and 1,000 degrees.
in my wedding video, you literally see me like hyperventilating. I'm like,
Really?
That's
because
fine.
Why?
I was just nervous.
That's
you know?
great though. That's probably emotional and
I had
Yeah.
I had one guy,
Like huge chest
One-
expanding and contracting. Like
one
could not
guy,
get it
one
under
one
control.
camera, one
That's really
angle,
sweet.
and on camera audio. That was my whole wedding day. It was dope. Our wedding day was awesome. But I'm like standing up there. Mike's my best man. We're standing next to each other. My bride is walking down the aisle, and the guy's like, "Are you excited?" And I'm like, "Get the fuck away from me!
Say a few words.
Stop talking to me! Like, what are you doing?"
How are you feeling right now?
Yeah.
Right. I was like,
Mad.
Anchorman like, to my wedding.
All I remember from that is looking at that guy's camera because we didn't know what we were doing. He had this giant camera and being like,
Wow.
if I could get my hands on that camera, I could do some amazing
Oh.
things.
Awesome.
That just brought me back to when you said like how did I get into
Yeah.
it, and I was a bridesmaid at my friend's wedding that James was shooting.
Mm-hmm.
Him and his second shooter roll up and plop their bags down, and he opens it up and walks away, and I look over and I was like, oh
Yeah.
and I was
is all
just like,
that?
oh my god. And
you
I
should
was,
see
lens is
you should
so
see Gary's
big.
bag.
right.
oh,
Well,
oh,
how many of
Gary.
us did that when we
I love
started,
Gary.
right?
Have you seen
Yeah.
Gary's bag?
I have, yeah. There's a lot of stuff in there.
No, like how many of us
What was the
bought
ball
all
joke?
these
I
weird
wasn't ready for the
accessories
ball
thinking
joke.
we needed them, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Do you know
Like,
how much
oh,
money I wasted? Don't even get
that
my
looks
wife.
pro.
Don't tell
That's
we
me.
gonna
talked
make you
about
look
that on the
pro.
episode with Bo, where he said like, you know, his advice is your first year
Don't
in
buy
weddings,
anything.
don't spend any money on gear or anything. You literally don't buy anything. Just second shoot, just do whatever you got to do, and then at the end of the
That's good
year, you'll
advice.
have learned so much that you'll smartly invest it rather
Yeah.
than buying 15 cameras, 15 lenses, and all.
I
I had
still
the,
make that
um,
mistake.
Oh yeah,
I had the
you-
Fong
you're a gear junkie like
diffuser
me.
to go over the pop-up flash. It was like a little cone, like a half cone.
I'm about to offend everyone.
Right.
There's not a big difference between the Fong and the mag boob.
No, there isn't.
I agree. I'm
So
not
you're about to
upset.
bash the Fong.
Other than weight,
Well,
It's the same
other
thing.
than weight and
no, it just.
look.
But now, obviously, I don't use that at all.
Yeah.
Actually, I
but-
bought the Gary Fong and I've never used it on a wedding, even
Yeah.
for a photo.
The Tupperware one.
Yeah.
The Tupperware.
It's what's the difference is convenience, weight, and like stuff like that. But it does the same thing.
I use the same 3 lenses for weddings. Yet
that
every
other-
year I buy a bunch of lenses,
Right.
and then don't use them and use the same 3 lenses. I have
There's
to
a
learn.
therapy for that.
I have to learn.
Right. Dude,
Lens addiction.
First step is
my
knitting.
most used lens is my cheapest lens.
Yeah.
It's my $200
For me, it's
50
the 50.
millimeter.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no,
50,
yeah.
50.
50 millimeter.
Most
Half of
my
my shots are on a
lenses
50.
used.
I spent like $3,000 on a 70-200. I never use that shit, like ever.
Yeah.
It's for sale right
But
now.
when you
Right,
need it,
it is for sale
when
right
you
now.
need it, you need it.
Right, and then
Yeah.
when I do wedding photo, I'm like, I need this lens. I
Mhm.
love that lens. But for video, I feel like a lot of stuff we do, the prime look is nice.
Yeah.
I just don't. It's not that dude. It's the pictures look amazing. I use it for headshots and glamour stuff. I just don't do a ton of that. I mostly do boudoir, which I stick with like my 35, 28, my 50. Now pretty much just my 35. But
It's been like 24 hours.
right, no. So my whole reasoning. So I bought a new lens. Let's talk about this. I
He's
bought
very
a new
excited.
lens.
Very excited.
Yay! Hold on. Here we go. Yay! So I got a Rokinon 35mm 1.4. It's like $600. Put the Amazon affiliate link down below,
Sponsored by Audible.
right here.
Oh.
So
Fancy.
it was 35mm 1.4, and my whole reasoning was in every boudoir shoot I did, I would switch between my 50 and my 28, going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And I was like, and I have Gianna, who's the studio manager. Like while we're shooting, I'm like, all right, give me the 28. I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna buy a 35 because it's like pretty close to the middle. I feel like that'll probably be good. Oh my God, I was right. And I'm not right that
It's a
often, but
beautiful-
I was so right. It was amazing. And I'm like, as far as boudoir goes, I don't think I'm ever gonna take it off my lens or off
He's
my
very
camera.
excited.
It's so good. It's so good. Oh my God. But for headshots, like this, like we talked about the cinematic headshots for a while. That's 70-200. Oh, 200 with 2.8. My God, it's beautiful. I just don't get to use it that much.
Last year I bought my dream lens, the 105 1.4.
Oh, nice.
It's my baby.
Beast
But I remember the week I got it, I had a wedding and I shot all of prep with it.
Yeah, that's what
And
happens.
it's 105
Oh, you
millimeters, so
can't do that.
every shot is close up, 1.8 aperture, 1.4
Yeah.
aperture. Like you just see a wisp of hair and like blur,
Yeah.
like every
Yep,
photo.
that does happen. Well, that was like when you got the 85.
Yeah.
You used
I
85 for preps a lot.
Still love that lens.
Yeah, that lens is sick.
Way
That's
zoomed in.
that's on my list. The 85 is ridiculous. That's another cheap lens.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
love
And
it.
then when you
cheap.
get
I
two
love
cameras, a
85,
second
35,
camera,
Oh,
like,
yeah.
all day.
Oh,
you can
yeah.
do the
Yeah.
35 on one, 85 on the other, and just go back and forth between the two cameras.
That's exactly what I want to do.
Yeah.
Read my mind.
So
Red
after
camera.
the same day slideshow,
Let's go back.
Segue!
Wait, we
Sorry.
do Jenna all the time because she circles it back naturally.
Yeah, you need to be on the show at all times.
Yeah.
so
She's like the person in the corner with the button, like, nope, go back, nope, go back.
She's in a topic, and we're like,
Surprise, motherfucker.
here comes the new topic.
So I'll use some of those images and post it either that night, depending on what time I get in, or the next morning, because
Nice.
guests really want to see those right
That's
away.
awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's brilliant.
They're not like the best edits because I've done them so quickly, but I feel like you can't be a perfectionist. You know what I mean?
This is such a douchey question. I feel like this is equal with, are you on Facebook? Are you on Facebook? It's like, I feel like I shouldn't have to ask people that now. But do you blog?
I do. I'm getting a lot better at
Right.
it.
I'm terrible at it. I'm not consistent with it at all. I feel like I need to do that way
I'm
more. But
I'm pretty bad
so
at it.
hard
I tried to
because
hire a blogger too. That didn't go well.
I always
but-
wanted to blog because I love writing.
Right. Right.
If I was an interior designer originally, I wanted to go for like English or something.
Nice,
Or
nice.
psychology, which I guess there's writing in that.
Right.
But I always love to write. I'm a little wordy, but
Yeah, it's
now
good.
I've started to hone in and like do less wordy, more about like the story, the couple, and then show the photos.
So
I'm
do you
getting
use
better.
those photos? Do you like blog like right away?
No, it's a goal though. So my
Yeah.
turnaround time is 4 to 6 weeks,
Okay.
depending on the season. Obviously, in
Right,
the
right.
fall it's more like 6
That's
to
good.
8. But no, I just blogged one from an August wedding. But my goal in this year is to not release the wedding gallery to the client, to first show it via blog. So that way
Right.
they share it and it's
There you
exciting.
go. I was gonna say you could take those. So some people only do like sneak peeks in a blog post, or
Oh,
you could do
yeah.
like multiple. Like
I
if you
could
took
do
those
that.
images you did for the same day edit, and then like the next day,
That's-
short
yeah,
blog
that's true.
post,
Well, you know what you guys could do?
SEO the shit out of it.
You could do like really quick teaser, sneak peek, and the full blog. That's 3 social media posts, 3 blog articles on your website with keywords to link you.
Within 24 hours. Mike Hook.
Do it.
and don't sleep.
So what's crazy is I used to never blog, and video is harder to blog for sure because there's not much to show. But I was honing in on my niche market that I wanted, and including certain venues.
I believe it's niche.
When I went to China, I was honing in on my niche market.
Oh, you do it pretty good.
But it's working. The past couple weeks, it's been like a year of constantly using these keywords and stuff like that. All the inquiries are the same venues, and they're the ones I targeted, and they're all saying like, "Oh, I just Googled my venue, and you came up first." And I'm like,
Nice.
"Yes."
That's
and
cool.
the blogs aren't
That's
even
SEO
up.
Teach
people.
me this, bruh.
Search.
I just told you.
Terrible,
Optimization.
terrible
He
ad
literally
block.
just explained it to you.
I went to China. I'm just
You
kidding.
just put the name of the venue in the blog post
Shut up and take my
So,
money.
like,
one time.
this kind of stuff, I'm not
Yeah.
so good at it. I
Right.
do rely on like James and reading
Got
and
it.
James for this like kind of education. But I think it's how you name your file.
Okay.
Yeah, so with photos, yeah.
Yeah.
Because then you'll come up in like the Google Images search.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure
I don't
it's
know
how
that.
I don't.
you. You
Yeah, I
have
gotta
Do you know
learn
what I
that.
leave my file name says? DSC-8.
So do
I'm
I.
not joking.
So for me,
Yeah,
I'll
no.
name my file like New Jersey wedding photographer venue,
Yeah.
and then the couple, and then like getting ready or ceremony or whatever.
Holy shit, that long?
It's long.
Wow.
Yeah,
They say that
it's
works.
a blog
Yeah.
in itself.
That's awesome.
But then I've also
I
heard
don't know
too,
this stuff.
you're supposed to not have the same words in, like it's supposed to be one photo could not have the same words as another photo in your website, right? Like something,
Oh, I don't know.
something about that.
They say
That's
that.
what we gotta have on the show,
you know,
Andrew Ludwig.
They
He was teaching
say
about
that,
stuff.
and so
Maybe
my
like-
site is very similar to
maybe like
his
alt
when it
tags
comes
or
to
something.
keywords,
Maybe.
and it works.
Keywords.
We break all the rules that they say you shouldn't do. Like I have keywords in my footer. And they're like, you can't do that. Google will impact you.
You're
We
such a-
show up at the top of the search
You're
every
such a
time.
badass, Mike. Breaking all the rules.
I break the rules.
I
It works.
That would have been. You
I'm
can't
a
touch this
bad
one.
boy.
was
Can't
thinking
touch
bad
this.
boy.
Do-
We're like,
Bad boys, what you gonna do? What you
All right,
gonna
so-
do when they come for you?
Okay,
Bad boys, bad boys. I'm
that
a
actually was
bad
my
boy.
favorite show growing up. How
What,
weird
Cops?
is that?
That's
yeah.
a good
wow,
Because
that's crazy.
my brother's a cop.
You
and,
might be a sociopath.
Where at?
Wait.
I like watching people get tased.
I think currently Atlantic City.
Oh, cool.
He's also in the Air Force. So
Sweet.
Oh, I also had him as an assistant at my last wedding.
That's
That
awesome.
dude's got a lot of jobs.
He's in the,
All
he's in
of the jobs.
He's like a military police in the Air Force. I'm
Nice.
so proud of him.
That's
He
awesome.
second shot, or he assisted me and Eric Tellerico, and he's a police officer, and he's been like firearm happy his whole life. So he was like, "Yeah, I mean, how hard can shooting a wedding be? I shoot guns for a living." He's been like, he's a 2-tour veteran and everything, and I was like, "All right."
Yeah, come on.
Come to my 12-hour Philly wedding, why don't you? And I got some bro respect. I
That's
did.
good. That's
Yeah,
good.
big bro
That's
respect.
dope. We shoot with a couple cops a lot, like
Oh, we're gonna have them on.
Joe
Yeah,
D'Agostino
yeah,
and
yeah,
Vinny.
yeah.
Yeah, Vinny Damiano.
awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, these guys are
He
awesome.
loved it. He's addicted to it, and he's
That's
like,
sweet.
"When's the next one?"
Yeah, yeah.
And I
These
was
guys
so
are great.
proud. I got to
They
tell
don't
you,
like those jokes. It's funny.
having
It's funny.
all of our gear spread out on the side of the street in Philly,
Yeah.
protected by an armed police officer,
Right.
I was at total peace.
Dope. Dope. That's awesome.
I was
You know,
like, "Yeah, cool."
Was it with who were we shooting with? I think I was shooting with you in Philly, where I left. You had an assistant with you in Philly, and it was like we left a bag somewhere,
Yeah.
and I usually don't have an assistant, and somebody had left their bag there, and
Arts
like
Ballroom.
I like ran back, and she was standing right there with all stuff. I'm like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
thank God.
Yeah.
Not because
Well-
it's Philly, just because it's anywhere.
Don't bring Ted anywhere because we know he leaves bags everywhere.
Do
Oh
I?
my God.
You know,
Lens
you're
bag,
just like
especially
in
in
the
Vermont.
zone.
What do you mean?
You're-
We
you
were
get in
just-
the zone
You
shooting
left your
and
bag in Vermont.
We were just up in Vermont.
No, man, lens bag.
We
What are
get
you
Wait a
talking
minute,
back.
I ran over
fun.
my bag.
We get back
Oh
to
no,
our,
we
you
didn't
did?
leave Vermont though.
I
That
ran
was
over
just
a cello once.
we were just across the street. I didn't leave it.
Ted had to call this guy that runs the venue so
Twice.
many times. He's like, "Steven, I left my lens bag in the thing." He's like, "All right, just come get it."
Had you left something there like an hour before?
No,
I
he
was-
left his boots the next day.
Oh,
Yeah, my boots and your
right.
garment bag were in the closet. But the night before, I forgot it when we went back to bed.
That was funny.
But I just went and got it. It was across the street.
That was amazing. So we recently shot in Vermont, and the three of us walk into this room that they had booked for us. Like so we shot in this town that's basically owned completely by the inn.
Yeah.
It's like
Oh,
historical
okay.
society,
Awesome.
super beautiful,
Sounds
super
beautiful.
great. Grafton, Vermont.
Grafton
Inn. And so you get there, and like all these little houses are converted into the inn. So
That
like,
sounds
okay,
like a
here's your
dream
here's
wedding.
your room.
It was-
like
it
we're
was
like,
great.
okay, typical hotel room, two queen beds, like whatever. We'll bunk up or like it doesn't matter. So we get there, we open the door, I step in, I go, oh shit. One bed, the three of us. We're
like
like
a giant bed.
one big bed, one
It was
king-size bed.
very romantically quaint.
And then I go,
Ooh.
yo, where's the TV? No TV. It was like a straight up old school colonial B&B.
There was
Yeah.
a pull-out
Beautiful.
couch.
It was
There's
very
a pull-out
romantic.
couch.
Thankfully, I got the
Somebody pull out
couch. I didn't have
jokes
to
to
sleep next to Tommy. That was great.
Yeah, no.
Who was
Mike and I
the-
shared a bed.
Who was the big spoon?
Hey, not telling.
I was the big spoon. He was the little spoon.
Yeah.
That's where I
Yeah.
found out I like whiskey. I didn't realize because
You drank wine.
That
I
was
did,
Mike's.
but I had two.
This
I
influence.
one
Vermont
classic
trip
for
is
that.
like self-discovery.
Right.
Yeah.
Let's not go
I'm
so
not
crazy.
gonna go
It
there.
wasn't
Let's talk
like
about
a
the
coming of
walking.
age tale or anything where like three men share a room. It's like
That was
Nope.
coming of age.
That was the walking down the
Walking
dark
down-
road with
Oh
no
my
lights
God.
for like an eighth of
So-
8/10 of a mile.
no, it's 1.8.
Hey, Ted, that's only the second time we almost died on a wedding. Like
Right.
today.
Right.
Guys, Ted almost flipped the golf cart with us in it today.
That's
Like
awesome.
leaves,
We were
looked
up
like
on
just
two
leaves.
wheels.
Underneath the leaves was a hole,
Wow.
giant
Dude, the
hole.
golf cart was like, we were
Yeah.
going down.
Mike's arms were like this.
I'm holding all the cameras and all the monopods. I'm like, I have nothing to hold on to.
Oh my god.
And Ted's just leaning.
He's like, Ted, stop. Ted, stop. I'm like, I'm trying to fix it. Like, no, stop.
That was so.
We were going over.
Just a piece of sound advice. Not sound advice. If you're at a venue and they say like, hey, they're having a bonfire, but it's like 3/4 of a mile down the road in Vermont. Curvy Mountain Road, no lights. Don't walk.
Don't
Just
walk,
Go
yeah.
get your car, get in. We're like, all right, well, we have to get some food. They're gonna be up there for a while, and then we want to go shoot it. So we're like, what the fuck was that? What just happened? Just got attacked.
On this episode of When
By
Podcasts
hashtag
Bite Back.
#MeToo microphone. No, that wasn't that funny. So we're like, all right, cool. Grab dinner first, and then we'll run up there. Like we're gonna get like wings, be super fast. Well, it wasn't super fast, and we were like, now we're in a rush. So instead of like walking back across the street to go get the car, we're like, fuck it, we'll just walk. It's 3/4 of a mile. It's not that
Because
far.
that
Mistake
was
number one.
faster.
Oh my god,
It was
we
rough.
almost died, and then the way back was worse. It was probably like in the tens, maybe.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe.
It was cold.
That's
It was
terrible.
cold, which means
Road
there
was
was ice
covered with
everywhere.
ice.
Every
Snow
time.
Roads,
3 feet on
snows
the sides
everywhere,
of the road.
We get to the parking lot of where like the bonfire is, and we can like we finally see. We're like walking for like half an hour. We finally see the
Like-
fire. We're like there it is. It's still so far.
The parking lot was like an ice skating rink.
Yeah, the parking lot's like an ice skating rink. We get there, we start shooting, and Ted's it's just like a rope like this far off the ground. It's about this far.
Oh yeah.
And it was like going there. Ted like, and it stops. Right, so Ted's like standing here. He walks around, takes like 2 steps this way, and like the bride comes over. She's like, "Hey, stop!" She's like, "That's a
lake.
frozen lake."
Oh my!
I was like, "That baby buffalo is about to die." We almost lost our baby buffalo.
Well, you know how
He
it-
almost went
we,
poof,
like-
right under.
We just go around where people are to get like other shots. Well, I was just like, oh, a field.
Yeah, not good.
Oh,
Not
that's
good.
dangerous.
I was,
Yeah, thank
I
you.
was
Yeah.
gonna do the same thing. I saw it. Like I was like, "Oh, that's not. That's a frozen lake."
If I
And
made a
then we
baby
had to
buffalo
walk
noise
back.
when I fell through,
But
Drowning buffalo.
walking back was worse because every time we saw a big truck, we had to jump into the snow.
Oh my
Yeah.
god! And there were
There's no
so many,
sidewalk
and they
or
drive
lights.
No,
so
we did.
fast. It was like,
Yeah, like we would go stand in
Yeah.
the snow. But there's like 2 feet
Okay,
of snow.
so what did we learn about Vermont?
And they kept
Drive.
when they say
Drive.
when they say
they
don't
kept
walk,
yelling at me
drive.
for walking in the middle of the
Yeah.
road too. I was
Yeah, he
taken
was just like
aback
walking
by
in the middle of the
that.
road. I'm like, if a truck comes
There's
around this
no
corner, you're
lights on
gonna
this
die.
road,
Like,
like-
they will not see you, even you.
Mike's phone
Bah.
died. My phone was the only one with battery. I think he
Yeah.
had battery.
Yeah,
They
my
would,
phone
like, take
died.
his
And that
flashlight. And he's like,
bride would never have her wedding footage.
right.
We told her when we got there. She's like, "Yeah, you should have drove."
Yeah.
That was dumb.
We should have got a ride back. There's a bunch of people there. Could give us a
Right.
ride back.
2-minute warning.
So
Anyway,
this
weddings.
has been awesome. Seriously, like really, really
was
fun.
fun.
Got some good insight,
Thank
really
you
good
for coming.
stories about like.
I just said thank you for coming.
Thank you for coming.
Thank
Guys,
you for
get in
coming.
there. Jenna just did a
Wow.
hostile takeover of the podcast.
This is my lair
This
now.
is yours now?
James
Okay,
comes
well,
walking
here's
down.
The soundboard.
I own this now.
I wouldn't know
Can I
what to
still
do with
have
that.
my house?
And this is how tired I still am from yesterday's wedding.
Oh,
Thanks for
awesome.
coming
Awesome.
to my basement.
No, but seriously, so much fun. And I think what was really cool is that with this episode, a lot of previously we've talked about like the how you do things, stuff like that. And we talked a lot about why, right? The why we do things. That's what everybody's searching for. The why, right? The why.
Why am I here?
Why am seeking-
42.
Nope. All right.
Meaning of
No,
life.
this is so great. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you.
Yeah.
for
Great
having
time.
me.
Yeah, your photos are great. I think you're doing
Aw,
great in
thank
business.
you.
Like, they're wonderful, and we'd love to
Trying.
keep seeing more.
Do you have
Thank
any
you.
final questions there, Theodore?
Oh
George?
yeah, I do. So, if you have like a recommendation for a good business book that kind of helps you,
Oh.
Doesn't even have to be business. It can be just any book that like
Yeah.
helped you with your photography business. Something like that.
Yeah.
Honestly, I don't.
This is a shitty
haven't-
question.
yeah.
I agree. I agree.
I haven't. The purple cow is a good one.
Okay.
It means like to stand out.
Okay.
Purple cow.
That's a good one.
But I honestly don't read a lot of business books. If you're thinking like, were you asking like
Inspiration?
Anything
Inspiration?
inspirational.
I find
Yeah.
inspiration not from other photographers. I find it in other mediums of art.
Okay.
Whether it's like a romantic
Like
movie.
like mediums, like a psychic.
Like Long Island.
No.
Medium?
Kidding.
Is that your secret? Do you consult oracles?
Telepathy? Got it.
I can work on
So other
that.
mediums like
Yeah, like-
romantic comedies.
Yeah, like music.
Sweet.
Like a romantic movie or
Nice.
just like a day out maybe with my husband or even friends. Like you can associate other relationships like throughout the day, like bridal party.
Yeah.
So I just try to pull emotions from my own experiences and things around me.
That's so awesome. That's
That's
the best
awesome.
answer we've ever gotten.
Yeah, I love that.
Fantastic.
So if anybody listening wants to,
Mm-hmm.
if anybody listening wants to connect with you, how can they find out more about you?
On Instagram, Jenna Lynn Photo.
Okay.
My website, jennalynphotography.net.
Okay.
And just honestly, I'm really easy. So just shoot me an email. My phone number is listed.
Okay.
Yeah. And
Awesome.
We'll just chat. And get to know
Awesome.
each
Well, this
other.
has been amazing. We loved having you on. Thank you
Thank
so
you
much for
for
coming out.
having me.
Lots of fun.
Thanks. It's awesome. I love working with all you guys frequently, and this was a new cool
Oh,
experience.
shucks.
This has been great.
Are you okay?
He's dying.
He's still laughing about that.
All right.
Wait, how would
You
you
try
say
not
it?
to
How'd
laugh.
you say
You're crying.
Was this that emotional of an episode?
Wasn't even that funny. Oh, it's been a long day.
I think when I said how can people find you on the internet, he meant like, oh, people are gonna like stalk her now, like the way you worded
Nope.
it. No.
And we're done.
Kami pati